Yes, hello and welcome to the first ever podcast here on the Any Revs UK podcast. Thank you, obviously, for clicking on us and stopping by today. It's the first one, so please bear with me. There's probably going to be a lot of me just waffling on. Well, hopefully we'll get through and you guys can sit back and enjoy and hopefully take something away from this. So this is going to be a podcast which I upload basically every time the Revs play or just before the New England Revolutions team is about to play. And I'll kind of just go into a little bit of background of about myself and why I support the New England Revolution. So you may have heard of Nick Compton. He says that England is his city, but for me, New England is my city. I am New England till I die. Obviously, I'm not from New England. I'm from the UK. But yeah, I've just kind of had this, I don't know, soft spot for New England for some time now. If I was to live in America, it would be in the New England, area, possibly Maine. But it's just something I kind of, have took to my heart now, and it's all the clubs that I support are over there. So, Boston Celtics, the Pittsburgh Penguins, New England Revolution, the New England Patriots to some extent, although I'm more of just an NFL fan in general. But if you was to hold a gun to my head, which hopefully you would never do, and tell me to pick a team in the NFL, it probably would be the Pats, closely followed by Green Bay Packers as well. Quite a fan of those. There is a few other kind of US American football teams that I support in the lower league system. But there's the Rochester Rhinos, the Tampa Bay Rowdies, for example. But the New England Revolution is the team that I would say I support, like the team that I follow the most. So in today's episode, obviously we're going to go through kind of, my thoughts on pre-season, how the roster's shaping up, how I think Brad Frield's doing, obviously in his first time, in charge of an MLS team. And then we're also going to be looking to the game against Philadelphia, kind of going on my predictions of how I think the Revs will line up, and also what the outcome of that game will be. So we're just going to delve into pre-season now. Obviously, great to start off the season with a cup as well. Obviously, picking up a not smallest trophy in the world, but the Mobile Mini Cup is won by the Revolution, and also we kind of got a hoodoo off our back as well in terms of the fact that we got a win for the first time in a very long time. I think 2009 was the last time we got to beat Houston Dynamo in a final of a cup as well. So that was great to kind of get that hoodoo off our back before we've actually even started the regular season. Pre-season as well, I feel it just went well for the Revs. Obviously, there's the loss against Malmo. I mean, Malmo are a top division Swedish team. They were slightly ahead in their pre-season preparation than we were. Obviously, that was our first game, whereas I think obviously because they had some Europa League or Champions League qualification, I don't know. They were obviously already quite far into their pre-season based on where we were. So they did look the fitter team, and it kind of came to fruition. And at the end of the day, it was only a 1-0 loss, but I still was slightly quite concerned at this point for the performance, because to me it still felt, yes, I know it was our first game back after a fairly long pre-season, a fairly long off-season where because we didn't get to the playoffs or anything, but yeah, I don't know, it was slightly concerning. We did seem to be very, very sloppy. Good things coming obviously from the training camps though was that people were saying it's very, Brad Friedel's come in with this really professional outlook on the game, and he's brought in a lot of rules which the actual the squad seemed to have really taken to and actually enjoyed the kind of the how Brad had it set up and kind of what he's doing in training. Training has intensified a lot. I mean, it seemed to me like that people were saying this, and a lot of people jumped on the fact that that was saying that Heaps wasn't professional and that kind of thing. I don't think that was the case as such. I think they were just saying that it's like a step up from what they were used to before. I don't think they were saying that that Heaps was unprofessional in any way, shape or form. But I just feel for me that maybe it was just a big step up for them, and that's what they were kind of getting at, not kind of trying to say that Jay Heaps was anyway a bad manager or anything like that. Yeah, obviously, then from then on out, we were actually unbeaten in pre-season as well. We faced off against some really good teams as well. So it was kind of good to see us getting in the mix against some MLS teams and some of the lower tier. Well, not really. Well, yeah, it is a lower tier, isn't it? It's really weird, obviously, MLS. If you don't understand it, I may do a whole kind of episode eventually, kind of just explaining my thoughts and my perception of what I think MLS is, because I still don't think I know it fully. I'm still quite a noob when it comes to MLS, but I've been following it for some years now, and I just really enjoy it. It's completely different to the European league systems, and I know a lot of people don't like it in the UK, but for me, it's a really exciting league, and the fans are really passionate. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, pre-season I think from there on out went pretty well. There's a lot of kind of really massive positives to take away from it, and obviously the fact that we won the cup as well in the end, beating the Houston Dynamo in the final was a massive plus for me. Standout performances during pre-season for myself. There's quite a few people that did actually impress me, and obviously I'll talk about my kind of lineup choices as we kind of progress throughout this podcast. Probably no structure to this one at all today. I've kind of got a little bit of written down and kind of how I want to go through things, but you know what I'm like. I'll just waffle on as and when I see fit. I'll change subjects. But yeah, some really good positives from the Revs for me. You could really see kind of what Brad was trying to do from even from game one really. As I said, I think game one was a little bit too much to be trying to do that high pressing line. It just seemed a little bit too much that the players just weren't really up to it at that time. But as we've got into pre-season, I think you can really see that that's what he's wanting to do. Is we're pressing high now. It's very rare for the team to get up to the halfway line without us already pressing on top of them, and it's really quick pressing as well. The only slight concern for me is the fact that obviously that we're quite vulnerable then potentially on the break as well, and that has happened a few times. Ball over the top. Cropper's had to come for a few, and he probably shouldn't be really put in that predicament, and he's given away penalty kicks off the back of that as well. So slight vulnerabilities there, but we're still working on it. It's still work in progress, and hopefully we can get that now down. Only a few days away now until the regular season starts, but yeah, you can really see the kind of what Brad's trying to get us to do. It's very kind of you can already see kind of what formation he's wanting to play as well. It looks like we're going to go with a 4-2-3-1 formation as well, which for me, I mean, I'm not, I think it's a good formation away from home. I'm not really too sure it's the formation we probably should be playing at home. It still feels a little bit too defensive, although the position that Caldwell's been playing in, he does seem to kind of have a little bit more of a free reign. It does seem that Zahibo is the one that's staying back. But for me, I don't know. Maybe you just go for the one defensive midfielder as such. You just line up with Zahibo at the back, and then you almost play like a 4 behind the striker. Maybe I don't know. I will kind of go for formation, but you can play 4 behind there. So maybe Caldwell doesn't potentially always get in that starting squad, or maybe you do push him a little bit further forward and try him in an advanced role. We've seen he's not the kind of steely defensive midfield player that we needed. We've got Zahibo in for that. So then do we give Caldwell a little bit more now of a free role really in the midfield, and he can kind of just kind of switch and change between maybe him and Rowe or him and Fanduga, Diego. Sorry, I'm really bad at pronouncing some of the names as well, so I can never say Diego's surname very well, even though I've heard it a million times. And obviously with the what's happening with the Lee Win situation at the moment, we just don't know. Rightfully for me, I don't think he should be in the starting 11 or even the squad realistically on the first day of the season against Philly, because he just has not taken part in pre-season. He's got to be miles behind in terms of fitness. And for me, I suppose you could bring him on in the 70th minute maybe, and he could get us that vital winning goal. So maybe, I don't know. I'm still really undecided on the whole situation. I don't think it's been handled particularly well by Lee Win. I don't really think it's been handled the best by the Revs either. From either party, I don't think it's been the best handled situation in the world. The players admittedly doesn't want to play. Should be cashed in. I can understand from Friedel's point of view. He wants to stamp his authority on and say, I'm the boss. I will decide who stays and who goes. But when you've got a player who doesn't want to play for you, do you really want to have their potential toxicity around that dressing room? And he's a fairly highly influential player. I mean, if he was to play Football Manager, Lee Win is going to be on that dynamics as a highly influential player, and if he's bringing the dressing room down, I mean, it's potential to have knock-on effects. So yeah, still undecided on that situation about what should have happened and how it's been handled. Does he make the starting 11? For me, definitely not. Does he make the bench? There potentially is a space on the bench, but I think if you're a player at the Revolution at the moment and you see Lee Wing getting on the bench for that first game, it's got to be pretty demoralising, especially if you've had a decent pre-season. You gave a good accountability for yourself. You gave a good account of yourself during pre-season. You feel like you're deserving a roster spot. You feel like you're deserving to be in that first squad. maybe not the starting 11, but definitely on the bench, and then you go and get Lee Win just taking your place, even though he's not, played at all. Yeah. So for me, probably not, but at the same time, is he Rev's best player still? There's an argument for that. There is an argument that he's Revolution's best player. So would you ever consider not having your best player when he is available in your team? That's a question, guys. I don't really know. If you're listening to this on YouTube, then please obviously comment down below. If you're not listening to this on YouTube, I completely forgot all the admin at the start, didn't I? I kind of said I was going to tell you about a little bit about myself, and I haven't done. See, I've lost it already. This is a complete shambles. But you can follow me on Twitter. It's at Just M1ke Plays, but the Mike has got a 1 instead of an I, so it's at JUSTM1KE PLAYS. Just M1ke Plays, but the I is a 1 because I am number 1, baby. But yeah, so you can go follow me over there. If you've got any questions that you want me to answer during the next podcast, or you want to kind of comment on how you feel I've done, or on the Lee Win situation, or anything that I've mentioned in today's podcast, please go over there. I believe this is going to be up on SoundCloud if I can figure out how to get it all set up and everything. If it is just on YouTube, then I don't know what I'm going to have in the background. But thank you guys for listening. Obviously, make sure you drop any comments down below in that comment section, like, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff as well. If you're listening on iTunes or SoundCloud, then make sure you subscribe. And if you're on iTunes, if you could leave me a 5-star review, that would be absolutely awesome as well. And just write a nice little comment. If you could, that would be absolutely smashing. But that's completely going off on a tangent. That should have been done at the start, shouldn't it? I've listened to podcasts previously, and that's all the admin bits done at the start, and I've just boshed it in here. So really, really amazingly well done. And I kind of apologise as well, guys. The production levels will eventually get better and better, I promise. This first one is really, I know it's going to sound not the best, really rough, probably a lot of background noise, so I do apologise for that, but I am improving my setup. Just bear with me. Just really wanted to get this one out there for the first episode, as it's this is the start of the season very, very soon. So yeah, we're talking about pre-season there. We'll kind of go on to formation, tactics, and philosophy now as well, and kind of that'll kind of roll in nicely then to my predicted starting 11, and then obviously on to the prediction against the Philadelphia game. So, formation, as I kind of touched on briefly, you can kind of see that Brad's playing that 4-2-3-1 formation with that lone striker. As I've mentioned, I think that's ideal for away matches, but possibly change. I think we feel we should slightly be more attacking in our home game, so I feel that we should line up as a more attacking threat with the kind of almost 4 behind the striker. Doesn't necessarily have to be 4 attacking players as such, but I don't feel we need 2 defensive midfielders playing in a game when we're at home. When we're at Foxborough, I don't feel that that's the right mentality. If you're the opposition manager and you're seeing that we're lining up with 2 holding midfielders, I can understand why we do it as well, because of the way we've kind of changed our style of play. But I don't know, is it slightly negative? I'm not too sure on that one. Talking about kind of the reason why possibly he's playing the 2 almost holding midfielders in front of the back 4, it's because now, as you Americans like to call it, the outside backs are getting forward a lot more now. So you've got the left back and the right back, the 2 wing backs. They are pushing really, really high lines. They're getting forward wherever they can, whenever they see space. They are really, really darting forwards and providing an extra threat in the attacking third. So that means potentially, if we'd only have 2 at the back, the 2 central defenders are obviously staying back, but then we've got Zahibo there, and he very rarely kind of roams from that. I think he's quite disciplined in the fact that he does stay in front of that back 4. It's very rare that you would see him inside the box, and he does seem to kind of have good discipline about his staying, understanding his role and where he needs to be. So 3 at the back, I think there is the option there, and there's no saying that both outside backs are going to go at the same time. So it's not like your left back and your right back are going to be both bombing forward at the same time. So for me, if you've only got 1 defensive midfielder, you shift him in there. One of the central defenders possibly pushes out to right or left back. I think there's definitely an option there for us. I don't think we need the 2 holding midfielders, but at the same time, if you've got them 2 pushing forward, we get caught. You've then got that 2 kind of defensive midfielders in front, which again could be the away from home formation. So possibility we could have 2 formations. 1 for home and 1 for away. That's my thoughts. I don't think we'll do. I think we'll just play predominantly the 4-2-3-1 formation throughout the season, and then possibly rolling into a more standard 4-4-2 as and when need be, when we need the 2 up top kind of thing. Obviously, kind of talk about the formation, then we'll move on to philosophy. As I've mentioned before, you can kind of see that we are playing, 2 very attacking wing backs we're playing one kind of more defensive midfielder in front of the back four. We're then playing Caldwell, as he's predominantly playing that role at the moment. I suppose at the I don't know what position you probably call it, an 8 or a 6, more of an 8 role, I suppose. He's kind of almost, I suppose he's not an attacking midfielder at all, but you do see him in that attacking third. So you do see him. He's more of the predominant player. He's more of the advanced playmaker, I suppose, in a way as such you'd say it. We've then got the three in front of him. We've got there's a lot of switching going on there, which I do really like. The fact that it's not static. You might see Colin Rowe starting as a number 10 as such, but then you might see him out on either wing at one point. You might see the two wingers just swapping throughout the game, which I do really like. I really like the fact that, especially from a defender's point of view, that must be horrible, because one minute you're marking, you might be marking Diego, and then the next minute, you could be picking up Rowe, and you're not really too sure. You might think, oh, I know what Diego's going to do. I've been marking him for 30 minutes now. I kind of know what he's about. I know what he's going to do. Then all of a sudden, no, you've got Rowe running at you, and you're thinking, what's going on here? So for me, that's really pleasing to see. The one up top thing, again for me, I think it works when you've got Agudelo, but when you're playing Nemeth up there, I'm not really too sure if it's going to be. Obviously, it's great to have two kind of different strikers, two different striker choices. But I don't know how well it's going to work with just Nemeth up top. Possibly, for me, he's probably had the better of the pre-season out of the two. But I think it will be Agudelo come first game of the season. I do think he will get the nod ahead of Nemeth, although Nemeth has had the better season. So do we start him out wide potentially in that kind of dime of three, because he's had such a good. I would like to see him in the number 9. I would like to see obviously Agudelo in at number 9 as well, because we haven't really seen as much of him at number 9. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. That one's probably the hardest one for me to pick for the kind of starting 11. And as we kind of just touch on that now, we will kind of go into my predicted starting 11 for the Philadelphia game. Okay, we'll start with goalkeepers. Now, for me, I still feel it's one of our weakest spots. I mean, I think we've got 3 good keepers. 3 good keepers. I think we've got one very good young keeper who, Cropper, I think he's going to be our number 1. And I think, in a few years' time, we'll look back and, we'll see that it was just his inexperience that's, caused him a few problems. But still, for me, I don't think we've got, one outstanding goalkeeper. I think they're all good. I think Cropper's the best of the bunch. But I don't feel that any of them are outstanding, considering, you've got other really high caliber goalkeepers in the league. I don't feel like our goalkeeper is on par with what the opposition have got sometimes. So, but for me, it's got to have to be Cropper. I mean, he made a few mistakes still, but again, can we put that down to inexperience potentially? But he's really got to quickly learn from that now and make sure they're kind of getting nullified, and that is very few and far between now, because we can't have it each game where he's giving away a penalty kick and silly mistakes being made. Back 4. I think most people, from what I've seen in the community, the Revolution community, it's almost everyone's picking it very similar starting 11. To be fair, there's a few positions where we might change it out, but it's a very kind of solid starting 11, which for me says one thing: not enough strength in depth still. Because if we're all picking the same teams, that means for me that the bench is still a little bit too weak, which it is. In certain aspects, we're not, but there is definitely still a weakness available there. Definitely at centre back, we don't think we've got enough at centre back to kind of roll with there. I think there's definitely still room. I know we're not, we're still not closed. The window isn't shut, but I don't know how much movement we're going to be doing. I keep hearing there's two more players that are due in, but where are these players? Where are they? There's not been anything confirmed by them. I keep seeing rumours galore, but it's still nothing concrete, and we're still so close to the starting. It's going to be too late soon, and we're not going to have anything, in terms of players. So that's slightly concerning for me. But I do think that the back 4, I suppose some people might argue it doesn't. I was going to say it picks itself, but I suppose it doesn't, because there is, the 2 outside back positions that maybe people aren't going to agree with. I'm not really too sure. But for me, I mean, left back, as much as people want to see Tyrion, I think, due to, of how much of a long servant he's been, and I do definitely want to see him throughout the season. And I hope that if this is his last season with the Revolution, that he does stay on in some capacity with the squad as well. Because I would hate to see him just hang up his boots and then as not to see him in the Revolution in some capacity. He's got to somehow stay hopefully potentially with the academy. That would be ideal for me. Get his coaching badges done and start working his way up through the academy. But in some kind of, there's got to be some role for Tierney. He's long serving as he is an absolute legend of the club. But for me, it's going to be Somi, isn't it? It's going to be Somi at left back. He's definitely kind of what Frieda was looking for in terms of he gets forward. He's got good distribution on him as well. He seems to be pretty decent at crossing the ball. Good game management. For me, he does look like a really, really solid signing. Great addition to the roster as well. We haven't really talked about ins and outs. There wasn't really much kind of on that front, I suppose. But for me, yeah, definitely a massive. I don't really want to say improvement because Tierney wasn't terrible, and there's part of me that's so fond of him because of what he's done for the club. But I do think that this possibly is, the time for him to, kind of help, Somi in certain aspects. Understand the game and the kind of way that MLS works, and kind of the game is going to be different over here. But I think he slotted in really well in pre-season. He's been very impressive. Obviously, it's going to be nice to be Tierney, but I do think it is going to be Somi come the first game of the season. Right back, this is where I think the debate starts sometimes. Farrell, for me, hasn't actually been terrible. He has not been. I thought when I first kind of understood that we're going to be playing with very offensive wing backs. I thought there's no way this is going to Farrell's going to he's not. This isn't going to suit him at all. But he's gone away. He's kind of understood what what we need from him now, and he's slimmed down a bit. He's not looking terrible at all. But for me, I would like to see us give Brandon Bye that opportunity. I do think it would be nice to see start him in the first game and see what he's about. It's away from home, so potentially we will go with Farrell because we need that experience. But I have to say, I don't know. I would just like to see him, give him that opportunity, because I think he's got a great future ahead of him. I think he looks really impressive during pre-season. One of the standout performances for me. But yeah, has he done enough to kind of get that starting spot? I suppose is a different question. Be really interesting to know your thoughts on the right back one, because I think it's the one where not everyone is 100% convinced what we're going to start with. So it would be nice to kind of have your thoughts on that one and let me know. But for me, if I could choose a starting 11, it would be Brandon Bye at the moment at right back. Centre back pairship, and this is kind of where I'm a little bit worried. Yes, we've got hopefully a little bit of consistency now. It's going to be the same back two pairing, which could be ideal. But then I don't know if we've got too much. We still haven't got enough depth there for my liking. I think there's definitely still room that we could. And I know that a centre back has been mentioned in terms of the fact that I know it's something that we are looking at bringing in. But I do think that the centre back pairing is set in stone now. I don't think there's going to be much. There's not going to be much at all, if at all. I don't think it's going to be changing unless one of them makes a terrible mistake. For me, it's not changing at all. It's Claude and Dialma. That's the two. I don't think it's going to change at all. Defensive midfield, so obviously pushing forward from there. I do think again it's going to be Zahibo and Caldwell. Again, we need another central midfield player. We've got no real, other options there. Sorry, there is options there, but I don't think there's any. How many opportunities is Femi going to get? He's not looking. Still didn't look overly convincing when he did get an opportunity come pre-season. I think some of the academy players have got a better shot at actually getting into the team than Femi at the moment. But we can kind of see on that one. But it's got to be Caldwell and Zahibo because they're the only two realistically that I can see at the moment, even going in there in front of them now. So this one for me is again, it's a tough decision. The three players that play in front of them. We're not counting Lee Wing because he's not starting. But I feel that Rose should play at the 10, so he should play just off the striker. I then think we should start Christian Pinilla out on the left-hand side, and then we should start Diego out on the right-hand side. Obviously, that could change. I could easily slot Nemeth in at left because I am going with Juan Agudelo up top. But yeah, the fact that we're going to have potentially, so either player you take out that, so if you take out Pinilla or if you take out Diego to fit in Nemeth, you've got a really good option on the bench for me. You've either got Nemeth, Diego, or Pinilla on the bench, which for me is great. The fact that having that depth in there. Also, you know, up top, as I said, Wangadelo, we've got Nemeth there, but we've now actually got Wright, which I think, to be fair, Wright has had a decent pre-season. We also, you know, we can't, not the fact that, you know, Teal scored. Teal did score some goals. Again, didn't look overly convincing in my eyes. He's got a good option that he can play on the right as well. But, you know, he's another option, and he does seem to, yeah, the way he might, you know, bundle them over the line, but he did score. He scored some goals. So that's another positive. So could this be a breakout season for Teal Bunbury? Probably not, but who knows? It's another good option. I think attacking wise, I think we're okay. I'd have liked to have seen, you know, maybe just one more. It depends on the Lee Win situation, I suppose. If we've got Win in there, then that's I think kind of rounded out quite nicely. But yeah, I don't know if Win isn't part of the team or he's not playing. I think we're doing a good option there. But I would more like to see another centre back and another central midfielder. So that's kind of my starting lineup. So Cropper in goal, Claude and Dialma at the back. We then got Somi at left back, Boy at right back. Then got Caldwell and Zahibo just sitting in front. And then got Padilla on the left, Diego on the right, Rowe in the central midfield cam position, and Ryan Agadello up top. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Obviously, how you think the New England Revolution will start. Do you like the new kind of two, you know, pushing on fullbacks? Do you like how Brad's got us playing? Do you like the high pressing line that we seem to be playing? What would you change? Do you kind of agree with my having two formations, one for home, one for away? All that kind of good stuff. If you could let me know, that would be absolutely perfect. On to the game now. The predictions. I'm going to put my neck on the line here and obviously go for a prediction. Revolution, obviously away from home. Generally, that was our biggest crux of last season as well. Didn't have the best away form at all. Our home form was, you know, somewhat okay. And if we had a better away form, we definitely probably could have been pushing for a playoff place. But that, you know, that didn't happen. So let's have a think here. Let's honestly think. How do I feel? Obviously, I always want to say a New England Revolution win. Looking back, Philadelphia have had a decent preseason as well. You know, not the best, but also not the worst. I feel like it's going to be close between these two seasons come the end of the season for a playoff space. I think this game's going to be tight. It's going to be quite cagey. I think it's going to be very bogged down in midfield. Hopefully, with this new philosophy, we're willing to take a little bit more risk, but then we could get caught on the counter, saying that as well. So I think there's going to be goals in the game. I'm going to say it's going to be a New England Revolution 2-1 victory, but I do think there's going to be a red card as well. I think there's definitely, I'm not too sure who, potentially Zahibo, but I think there will be a red card, which could change the scoreline. But I'm still going to go for a 2-1 Rev victory on this one as well. So once again, guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you think the game will be like? How do you think it will fare out? Do you think it's going to be a close affair like myself? Do you think it's going to be quite a free, expansive game of football? And the score prediction as well is, if you could just comment down below in YouTube. If you're not on the YouTubes and you just listen to it on whatever platform you're listening to it on, make sure you just tweet at me at Just M1ke Plays and replace the I with a 1 in Mike. Guys, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this one. As I said, hopefully we'll do another one. Either, I'm not really too sure how to do them. I don't really want to do another one after the Philadelphia game. I think I'll do another one just before the next fixture. Then we'll kind of talk back about my prediction and how I probably got it badly wrong. Then we'll talk about obviously comments, obviously what you guys have left me, your suggestions, all that kind of good stuff, your predictions, your questions, and I'll kind of answer some of those. And let me know as well if you want me to kind of do an overall MLS podcast episode, where I kind of just talk to you about the MLS, the rules, talking to you about designated players, salary caps, general allocation, money, TAM, all that kind of good stuff. And we'll try and go through that in an episode and kind of explain to you how it differs, because it is vastly, massively different from obviously any of the European league systems. I suppose the closest one obviously is the A-League. That's the only thing that kind of remotely kind of resembles the MLS in any way, shape or form. But obviously, the NFL is massive over here, and it is kind of based on that. They've based it on what has done massively well over there. They've based it on the sport, which is predominantly the sport that most people follow. So they follow variables of that. Does it need a change? In my opinion, it would be nice to see it. It would be nice to see it. And that's another debate to have another day. But yes, it would be. I think, the fact that it is so tough for a team to get into the MLS now. Although, saying that though, over the last few years, we've had Atlanta, Minnesota, and now LA as well have a team. But yet, we've still got Indy 11, Tampa Bay Rowdies, and Cincinnati that aren't in the MLS, which for me that's a shame. I think I think them clubs deserve to be in the MLS. But again, that's me going off on a completely different mindset. So to recap, guys, great preseason from Revs. Really liking the philosophy and the way that Friedel's got playing. I think Friedel will do well this season. I think he won't. I don't think he won't get sacked. I do not feel he'll get sacked. Formation wise, I think we are going to line up with that 4-2-3-1 formation, although I don't think it's ideal for home games. The lineup will be Cropper, by Claude. Oh God, my mind's gone blank. You know, yeah, I've already said it. What kind of thing? What his name is? Oh my God, man. Okay, yes, Tony. I can't think what his surname is. Claude, Tony, Somi at left back. Then we've got Calderwell, Zahibo, Pania, Rowe, and Diego, and Agudelo at the top. I should have wrote that down, shouldn't I? That would have probably been the far more professional thing to do. But there we go. I've just about got through it. And prediction for the scoreline will be New England Revolution 2, Philadelphia Union 1, and potentially a red card thrown in there as well. So guys, that wraps it up. I've rambled for over half an hour as well. So hopefully any of you have managed to listen through this whole thing, and that's been massively thank you. Thank you. If you have enjoyed it and you are listening on YouTube, then don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and that kind of good stuff. As I mentioned at the start, if you are listening on iTunes or SoundCloud, then please be sure to subscribe. If you are listening on iTunes, then please be sure to leave a 5-star review as well. I will join you in the next one. As I said, make sure you follow me on that social medias to find out when that next episode is, because I'm not really too sure yet. It probably will be the day before the next game, but I'm not 100% sure. I might do it 2 days before. But it depends when I can get the time to record, really. That completely depends. But yeah, obviously, if you are a subscriber, you can turn on the notifications, and then you'll get a little notification on your phone saying that I've just uploaded it, and you can give it a little listen. Because if you don't give it a listen, then obviously there's no point in me doing this. But guys, I don't know where I'm going with this. What a shambles. Anyway, as I mentioned, if you enjoyed it, all that kind of good stuff, then please be sure to let me know over on the social medias, and I will catch you in the next episode with an update on how the Revs got on during the Philadelphia, good old Philadelphia game. Have a safe and productive weekend, and I'll catch you guys soon.